I'm Andrew Edwards, you're watching Gear Live, and this is my review of Apple's new iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro. Let's do it. This video is brought to you by Setapp, a cross-platform suite of apps that keep you productive and help you find your flow. Stay tuned to find out more. What's going on, Tech Squad? Andrew Edwards here, and as I mentioned today, I'm bringing you my review of the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro. Now, I've been using both phones pretty much nonstop for the past week, and they hit stores on October 23rd. If you want to pick one up for yourself, I will have links down in the description below. Let's get started by talking about the differences between the $829 iPhone 12 and $999 iPhone 12 Pro. Now, I will be going into more detail on several of these differences in a moment, but right up front, here's what you get for your extra $170 with the iPhone 12 Pro. The iPhone 12 Pro has 6 gigabytes of RAM compared to the iPhone 12's 4 gigabytes. The 12 Pro has a third telephoto lens, giving it 4 times optical zoom range and up to 10 times digital zoom, while the iPhone 12 has a 2 times optical zoom range and up to 5 times digital zoom. iPhone 12 Pro has the LiDAR scanner for both instant AR and, probably more importantly, for 6 times faster focusing in low light. That LiDAR scanner also enables night mode portraits. iPhone 12 Pro has the stainless steel band around the glass, while the iPhone 12 has aluminum. The iPhone 12 Pro has a typical max brightness of 800 nits, while the iPhone 12 is up to 625 nits. The 12 Pro can record Dolby Vision HDR at 60 frames per second as opposed to the 30 frames per second on the regular iPhone 12. The 12 Pro will be able to shoot photos in the new Apple ProRAW format and has dual optical image stabilization on the wide and telephoto lenses, while the iPhone 12 has optical image stabilization just on the wide camera. Finally, the iPhone 12 is available in a 64 gigabyte configuration where the 12 Pro is not, and alternatively, the iPhone 12 Pro has a 512 gigabyte option, which the iPhone 12 does not. Now, I've seen a lot of coverage online that tries to tell you that the only difference between the two is an extra camera, LiDAR, and stainless steel. But comparing a spec sheet instead of comparing the experiences and features is a dishonest way of doing things. It's kind of like comparing battery capacity and making a decision solely based on that without comparing battery life. Does a huge battery matter if it dies sooner than a well-optimized smaller one? Okay, up next, I've got to address what seems to be the main focus of Apple's iPhone 12 event, 5G. Apple made a big deal of 5G coming to its iPhone 12 lineup, even having Verizon take the stage to talk millimeter wave and the launch of its nationwide 5G service. Lots of claims were made about how fast it is, and now 5G is faster and can support way more people within the same coverage area, but right now, it's still hit or miss and highly dependent on where you are. For example, some areas of LA have fantastic millimeter wave coverage. Here in Seattle, we have none at all, or at least not that's been announced. So it's not as even as the launch of 4G LTE on the iPhone 5, where it was very widespread on day one of release. Now, I tested the nationwide sub-6 gigahertz flavors of 5G to see how fast they were, and what you're seeing in these speed tests is T-Mobile 5G on the iPhone 12 Pro and Verizon 5G on the iPhone 12. I first tried the speed tests here in my home, and as you'll see in these results, there isn't much improvement over 4G LTE, at least right now. I got 48 megabits down and 6.7 up on Verizon, and 89 megabits down and 0.89 up with T-Mobile, and testing both nationwide 5G networks. Then I switched to 4G LTE and got 33 down and 10 up on Verizon, and 58 down and 1.8 up on T-Mobile. I also did a quick Wi-Fi speed test where the results showed actual fast speeds. But then I decided to head downtown to test 5G when out and about, since that's likely when it would matter more and not when you're at home on Wi-Fi. So I repeated the same test and had a couple of surprises. First, I was able to connect to a 5G ultra-wideband millimeter wave signal despite the fact that Verizon hasn't announced or launched that service here in Seattle. So I assume it's still in its testing phase. However, as you can see here side by side, Verizon's millimeter wave connection was able to hit 105 megabits per second download and 58 megabits upload. T-Mobile sub 6 gigahertz 5G hit 59 megs down and about 47 up. Then I tested the speeds on their 4G LTE networks for comparison. And as you can see here, Verizon's LTE speeds were almost equal to millimeter wave, 103 megs down compared to 105, and 56 up compared to 58. On the T-Mobile side, LTE hit 56 megs down compared to 59 on 5G, and 36 up compared to 47. So again, when it comes to speeds, there's not a huge benefit currently. That doesn't mean that some people aren't going to see better connections though, especially in areas where 4G was spotty. 5G may not mean a huge boost in speed right away, but it can absolutely provide service in areas where people previously struggled to get it. The nice thing about the iPhone is they last a long time and they maintain software support by Apple for about 5 years. So the iPhone 12 you buy today will be equipped to handle 5G speeds as the rollout accelerates. One other thing about 5G that stuck out for me, I typically use 2 SIMs in my iPhone, a T-Mobile eSIM for calls and texts, and a Verizon physical SIM for data. It worked great on the iPhone XS Max and iPhone 11 Pro Max with no negative hit to 4G LTE performance. However, on the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro, you can't access 5G at all if you use the dual SIM feature. Instead, you have to use 4G LTE at all times. One way around this is to turn off one SIM or the other in the settings, which will then allow you to access 5G on the one active SIM. But I don't know how many people are going to want to mess with settings to swap between services to get 5G connectivity. I'm not sure if this is an iPhone limitation or if it's a carrier limitation, but I did want to point it out in case anyone out there is in the same boat as me. Up next, now that we've addressed 5G, let's talk about the design. The iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro have the same display size and dimensions, with the Pro having a little more weight to it. That's likely due to the difference in material. The iPhone 12 uses an aluminum band around the edges, which is nice and light, while the iPhone 12 Pro sports stainless steel edges instead. The aluminum pretty much has a consistent look to it, while the highly polished stainless steel is easy to mark and dull even with simple general use, but you can bring back the nice shine just by wiping it down. As far as colors go, the iPhone 12 is available in black, which is the one I have here. Also white, green, blue, and product red. And the iPhone 12 Pro comes in silver, graphite, gold, and Pacific blue, which is the Pro model that I have here. And with the introduction of graphite, this means that there is no space gray iPhone for the first time since 2013, I believe. Apple has made these phones durable with IP68 water and dust resistance. Water resistance this year is up to 6 meters of depth submersion for up to 30 minutes, which is 3 times more depth for the iPhone 12 when compared to the iPhone 11, and 50% more depth for the iPhone 12 Pro when compared to the iPhone 11 Pro. There's also the new ceramic shield on the front glass, which Apple says makes it 4 times less likely to shatter in the event of a drop. And just for the sake of clarity, for this review, I did not test water resistance or do any drop testing. Next up, let's talk about these displays. I mentioned that the iPhone 12 Pro has a typical display brightness of 800 nits, while the iPhone 12 has a typical brightness of 625 nits. What that means is that the iPhone 12 Pro technically has a brighter display, which will be better when using your screen in bright environments, like when you're in sunlight. When viewing HDR video content, both displays can go up to 1200 nits max brightness in the highlights. Now, the bigger story here though is that Apple brought the Super Retina XDR display to the iPhone 12. In previous years, the 6.1-inch entry-level iPhone had the liquid Retina display with about an 880p resolution. It was the best LCD in any smartphone, but the Super Retina XDR OLED display was exclusive to the premium iPhone lineup. Now, even if you get a non-Pro iPhone 12, you're also getting the same 6.1-inch 2532 by 1170 Super Retina XDR resolution at 460 pixels per inch and the same 2,000,000:1 contrast ratio, True Tone, and P3 wide color, whether you choose the iPhone 12 or iPhone 12 Pro. Now again, the 12 Pro display is technically brighter in typical use, but this is a big step forward for the standard iPhone 12. It should also be noted that thanks to iOS 14, you can now watch YouTube in display resolutions higher than 1080p on these devices, with 1440p and 2160p, also known as 4K, now appearing in the YouTube app. There's really not much negative you can say about Apple's displays. These are some of the best in the business, with highly accurate color, super bright HDR, and in my opinion, the fact that the displays are now flush with the metal bands along the side of the phone, rather than curving into them as we've seen over the past few years, just feels so much better in the hand. Now, Apple was also able to reduce the thickness of the bezels around the display this year, so that's nice for the 12 Pro and a definite improvement for the standard 12 when compared to the iPhone 11. When it comes to sound, the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro speakers are really loud and sound better than ever. Last year, Apple added spatial audio to the phones that mostly supports Dolby formats, although games seem to use it without Dolby encoding as well. Spatial audio supports 5.1 and 7.1 surround, and it also supports Dolby Atmos in movies from the iTunes Store and content on Apple TV+. That might sound silly for stereo smartphone speakers, but Apple has done amazing work with computational audio, as we've seen recently when they added spatial audio to the AirPods Pro. Now, before we get into speed and performance, I want to give a big shout out to this video's sponsor, Setapp. I've been using Setapp for a couple of years now on my Mac, and it's a fantastic service that when it started gave you access to about 60 Mac apps for a monthly fee, kind of like Netflix, but for Mac apps. Fast forward to today, and Setapp now has over 200 apps that are a part of the service, which is insane, but even better, they also recently started adding iOS apps to the service as well, all starting at $9.99 per month. That gives you access to apps like iStat Menus, which lets you monitor just about every vital statistic on your Mac, and one of my favorites for keeping everything running smoothly, Clean My Mac X, which keeps your Mac fast, frees up disk space, and keeps you protected from spyware and malware. Now, the point here isn't just to give you access to a bunch of random apps. These are high-quality selections that focus on productivity. The right tool for just about any task at hand can be found in Setapp's collection. But like I mentioned, there are also iOS apps now available on Setapp too, like the To Do Task Manager and Step 2 for managing two-factor authentication codes. If you're a Mac and iOS user, Setapp is a game changer, giving you all the best apps and tools out there to keep you productive and help you find your flow. You can get a 7-day free trial right now by visiting setapp.com or by visiting the link in the description below. Once again, big thank you to Setapp for sponsoring this video. All right, up next, let's talk about performance. The first thing I have to say right off the bat, these phones are fast, both of them. You've got Apple's latest A14 Bionic system on a chip on the inside, and that's got a 64-bit 6-core CPU, a quad-core GPU, and a 16-core neural engine. This is the first 5nm chip to appear in any smartphone, which not only increases power, but also efficiency, which your battery will appreciate. The transistor count has increased to 11.8 billion, which is up 39% from last year's 8.5 billion. The A14 also has a new image signal processor with improved computational photography capabilities. And again, if all of what I just said just seems like tech jargon, mumbo jumbo, it all equates to this year's iPhones feeling incredibly fast. The extra RAM in the iPhone 12 Pro doesn't hurt either, as it allows for a few extra features that the standard iPhone 12 doesn't have, which I'll talk about shortly. But next, one of the most important specs on any mobile device, let's talk about battery life. Over the past 2 years, Apple brought huge year-over-year battery life increases, and it was assumed that it was a result of removing the 3D Touch layer, which allowed for more room for a bigger battery. This year, the changes aren't as drastic. First, as far as the rating goes, the iPhone 12 has the same 17-hour battery life that the iPhone 11 did, while the 12 Pro matches it at 17 hours of local video playback, which is 1 hour less battery life than the iPhone 11 Pro had for the same test. Streaming video was equal to last year though at 11 hours, and audio playback was also equal to last year at 65 hours. We all use our phones so differently these days that Apple settled on a video playback test on a loop, but what I've found is both the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro can easily last for the roughly 16 to 18 hours that I use them on a typical day without me needing to find a charger to plug into. But when you do need to charge, there's a USB-C to Lightning cable in the box, but you'll need to supply your own wall adapter if you want to go that route, or you can use one of the adapters and cables you already have. Or of course, you can charge wirelessly, which brings me to MagSafe. MagSafe is built into the back of the iPhone, giving it a circular magnetic array and alignment magnet, which guarantees that the iPhone properly lines up with supported MagSafe accessories. First, there's the MagSafe wireless charger, which charges at a rate of 15 watts versus 7.5 watts when using a standard Qi charger. It's easy to use since the charger snaps into place, and the magnets work well enough that you can pick up and use your iPhone with the MagSafe charger still connected to it. You can pick up the MagSafe wireless charger for $39, but that does not include the USB-C AC adapter. So if you don't have one, you'll need to buy that too if you want to plug into a wall. Apple also has MagSafe cases, as do some third parties, so you can protect your iPhone 12 while maintaining MagSafe charging capabilities. If you don't have a MagSafe case, specifically, there's a good chance that you'd need to remove it to use MagSafe wireless charging. Apple's MagSafe cases are $49 for silicon or clear cases, regardless of the size of your iPhone 12. Then there's the MagSafe wallets, and this is where you start to see how MagSafe is going to grow and explode. These are leather wallets that you can slap on the back of your iPhone 12 and they'll stay there magnetically. They cost $59 and they're made out of European leather. They're shielded to keep any credit card safe from the magnets, and they'll hold 3 to 4 cards depending on the thickness of your cards. Even if you have just one card in there though, it's not gonna fall out. And in fact, I found you need to remove the wallet from your phone and use a little area on the back to slide your cards out. Again, this is obviously just the beginning for MagSafe. PopSocket has said they'll be releasing MagSafe versions, and I know there are MagSafe tripod mounts in the works from some companies as well. This is gonna be big. All right, up next, let's talk about these cameras. Similar to last year, the iPhone 12 has a wide angle and an ultra wide angle camera, and the iPhone 12 Pro has the same and adds in a third telephoto lens as well. What's changed is that the wide angle is now a 7-element lens, which makes images sharper with a faster f1.6 aperture, which brings in 27% more light. On the iPhone 12 Pro, the new optical image stabilization makes 5,000 adjustments per second compared to the 1,000 per second on previous models, and you get a LiDAR scanner, which gives you up to 6 times faster autofocus in low light. But in addition, it seems like it also gives you better autofocus in low light as well. I was definitely impressed with the images I was able to capture on this year's iPhone 12 and 12 Pro. Portrait selfies were definitely improved. They're clean. The roll-off of the background blur was great in standard portrait mode shots. Night mode brought less grain and kept even more detail. And Smart HDR3 automatically refines highlights, shadow detail, and natural contours, whether you're outside or indoors, while also taking care of white balance and tapping into scene recognition to make photos look great. Textures sometimes look like you can almost touch and feel them thanks to next-gen Deep Fusion as well. Now, one complaint last year was that the telephoto and ultra-wide-angle cameras couldn't do night mode, and this year they can. And there's also a brighter True Tone flash, which is nice, and also means you have a brighter flashlight as well. Now, when it comes to video, the iPhone is now officially in its own league, if it wasn't already. If you buy any iPhone 12, Pro or non-Pro, you now have a Dolby Vision HDR video camera in your pocket. Now, I have a separate video coming that focuses on Dolby Vision HDR specifically, so be sure you're subscribed if you don't want to miss that one. But this camera is just absolutely impressive. You just aren't gonna find this on any other phone. I mean, my $4,000 cinema camera with $2,500 lens that I'm recording this video on can't do Dolby Vision HDR. You'll be able to edit your Dolby Vision footage on your iPhone in Photos and iMovie at launch, with compatibility coming to Final Cut Pro 10 later this year. Oh, and Deep Fusion, Smart HDR3, and even Dolby Vision video recording is all capable on the front selfie camera as well. You can even do night mode selfies too. All right, now let's get to price. The iPhone 12 starts at $829 in the US, but some carriers are offering a $30 discount that brings it to $799. That's up from the $699 price point of the iPhone 11, but it is to be expected with the addition of OLED displays and 5G. The iPhone 12 Pro remains at $999, but sees an increase of the base storage to 128 gigabytes, up from 64 gigabytes. Aside from removing the AC adapter and EarPod headphones from the box, Apple hasn't really changed the value here on the Pro, especially with that bump in storage. In fact, if you look at the 256 gigabyte and 512 gigabyte options, those are actually $50 less than similar configurations on last year's iPhone 11 Pro. So even if you need to buy a $20 AC adapter, you'd still be paying $30 less at those configurations than you would have paid last year. So the question is, should you upgrade? If you're on an iPhone XS or earlier, I think there's a lot to like about the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro. What Apple has built here, in my opinion, is a smartphone that is very difficult to beat. It's an upgrade that you'll feel instantly when you use it. If you love photography and taking videos on your smartphone, then I'd recommend the upgrade even if you have one of last year's iPhones. There is so much more versatility here with Dolby Vision video and Apple spreading all of its computational photography magic across all of the lenses, including the front camera. The only pause that I give you is if you don't mind a larger phone and want the best camera experience on any iPhone this year, you'll want to wait a few weeks for the iPhone 12 Pro Max instead, which we hope to get in soon for review. So that's the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro, two impressive phones that sit at the center of Apple's lineup this year, flanked by the iPhone 12 mini and iPhone 12 Pro Max, which are both about 3 weeks away. Will you be picking one of these up? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll meet you there for further discussion. Of course, we'll have even more on the new iPhones on Geared Up. Geared Up is the show I do each week with John Rettinger, where we take a look at the latest in tech, gadgets, and games. Just search for Geared Up in your favorite podcast player if you want to listen. Thank you so much for watching as always, guys. I appreciate your support. I'm Andrew Edwards, and I will catch you in the next video.